Prelude to Yoga VAsishtam. This is an excerpt from Laghu Yoga VAsishtam, English translation by Sri Narayana Swami Iyer. Sri Rama goes on a pilgrimage to the many sacred places and, having visited ashramas of the wise, returns to his native place. On his return, he grows quite disgusted with his material life, spurns his wealth and other regal possessions, and grows despondent without performing any of his daily duties. His attendants complain to King Dasharatha, his father, of the pitiable plight of their master. Thereupon, Dasharatha sends for his son, seats him on his lap, and inquires of him his state. Rama evades the question by simply laughing over the affair and gets away. At this juncture, Muni Vishwamitra turns up, and the king, delighted with the usual arrival of such a distinguished and revered guest, consents to execute any orders of the noble Muni. Vishwamitra demands Rama for his aid, at which Dasharatha is panic struck. Yet, rallying himself, he volunteers his own services in lieu of his eldest son. Immediately, Muni begins to curse Dasharatha for his vacillation in the fulfillment of his promises, when Vasishta interposes and pacifies the sage by making the king fulfill his promise. Then Rama is sent for, and his servants meanwhile relate to the rishis the present plight of their master, disdaining to perform such actions as tasting food, drinking water, etc. At which Vasishta remarks that the vairagya or indifference of Rama is not akin to that produced by such momentary accidents as the loss of some dearly beloved relative or wealth, but is one which is premonitory symptom of a spiritual development in him, after which development all his duties will be regularly performed by him. On Rama's arrival at the regal assembly, he is asked by one of the rishis as to the cause of his present sorrow, at which Rama makes a long tirade against wealth, life, ahankara, manas or mind, desires, body, and other material things, and at last winds up by saying that he will rather expose himself to the torments of hellfire than undergo the excruciating mental tortures consuming him little by little through the above mentioned causes. This concludes the chapter called Vairagya Prakarana, or the section on indifference to worldly things. King Dasharatha said, Rama, you are the treasure house of blessings. You have now attained the age of discretion. You can now discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. Only those who are dull-headed and ignorant shall put themselves through self-mortification. They do so because of their unreasonable and illogical understandings of life. You attain meritoriousness or punya only when you follow the course of action as followed by elders, gurus, and learned brahmanas. You cannot achieve any merit if you persist on following the path of error due to ignorance. Seeds of error cannot approach us when we become inaccessible to them. As a consequence, train of our misfortunes shall always lie at a distance. Only ignorant men drown themselves in the sea of errors which lead them to a life of inactivity. Do not allow yourself to become dull and inactive. Sage Vasishta. O strong-armed Prince Rama, you are truly heroic to have conquered your worldly attachments, which are at once very difficult to be eradicated because they are very fierce in their action. Now, why do you allow yourself to lead a life of inactivity? Only ignorant people will drown in the sea of errors and, as a consequence, become dull and inactive. Sage Vishwamitra. Prince Rama, your eyes are unsteady as if filled with doubts. They resemble turbulent clusters of blue lotuses. You ought to do away with this unsteadiness of mind. Tell us what is that grief which is causing unsteadiness of mind. What are these thoughts and what are their names and natures, their numbers and causes that infest your mind like its maladies, in the same way as the mice eat away a fabric? Sri Valmiki. Being thus asked with comforting words by the chief of sages, Prince Rama answered them with a graceful and meaningful speech. Revered sages, I shall certainly answer your questions. I grew up in my father's abode. I was instructed by worthy teachers. I went on a pilgrimage during which time a trend of thought has taken hold of me. This train of thought robbed me of all the hope in this world. My heart begins to question, what do people call happiness, and can it be had in the ever changing objects of this world? All beings in this world take birth but to die, and they die to be born again. I do not perceive any meaning in all these transient phenomena, which are the roots of suffering and sin. Unrelated beings come together, and the mind makes up a relationship between them. Everything in this world is dependent upon the mind. Everything is dependent on one's mental attitude. On examination, the mind itself appears to be unreal. Nevertheless, we are bewitched by it. We seem to be running after a mirage in the desert. We are not bond slaves sold to a master, yet we live a life of slavery without any freedom whatsoever. Ignorant of the truth, we have been aimlessly wandering in this dense forest called the world. What is this world? What comes into being? What grows and dies? How does this suffering come to an end? My heart is heavy with sorrow, even though I do not shed tears so as to not hurt the feelings of my friends and family.